Thank you so much for joining us. You're still tuned into Salam Media with myself, Salalo Makwidire, and today is International Women's Day, a very special day indeed across the world where women are being celebrated for their strength, for their contribution to society, for being mothers, nurturers, CEOs, running businesses, being teachers, doctors. So this is a day to celebrate women from all walks of life, and us here at Salam Media today, we're taking a different spin on it. We're celebrating and getting to know and understand what it looks and feels like to be a woman who's in occupied Palestine. And joining us right now is Malak Shweiki, a Palestinian woman from Jerusalem, Palestine, an active member of Palestinian Institute for Public Diplomacy organization, an activist, a teacher, and an educator in Palestine. She's joining us via StreamYard live from Jerusalem. Walaikum salam, Malak, and thank you so much for joining us here on Salam Media.
Walaikum salam. Hi. Thank you actually for inviting me. Thank you for hosting as well.
The pleasure's all ours. I think, for everyone, especially with what's currently happening right now in Gaza and all the different places in Palestine, the thought and the thinking for many, especially on this day, on International Women's Day, is how are the women of Palestine surviving during these very difficult times?
Um, I actually would like to first start with thanking the South African people and the leaders of the activism and advocacy in South Africa. We see you in Palestine, we hear you, and we actually would like to let you guys know that we appreciate that you actually chose to be at the right side of history. So your efforts are seen and appreciated from the Palestinians. And we encourage such steps from all nations and from all people to choose to be at the right side of history and to take proactive steps towards advocacy and solidarity with Palestinians. I would actually also to remind the world and whoever is hearing us that the genocide is still ongoing. Palestinians in Gaza are still being killed every day. We have martyrs every day. Children, women, men, and all human beings of Gaza are targeted. All civilians of Gaza are targeted. There are numbers of people that are being killed every single day. We have reports, and yeah, that would be my first
Mm,
introduction to this
mm,
interview.
mm.
Now, to answer your questions, to be a woman in Palestine um, is hasn't been easy and is not easy. And I think that we also share the same experience because being under colonization is not an easy step, an easy experience for all human beings, whether women or men or children. But for women especially, because it's a vulnerable creature that needs a special treatment,
Mm,
and it has special needs and like special privacy and special kind of human needs that she would like to be dressed. Women being Palestinian in under colonization has been difficult even as a girl when I was a child, crossing checkpoints and being targeted by soldiers, run to go and get to my school. Many women, many girls have been denied education because their families are not feeling much secure to for them to reach universities and schools outside their villages, outside their cities, because of the restrictions that are being put by the Israeli occupation. Um, and now, like you can see through media, through social media, through the Palestinian voices that are credible, definitely, about what do women actually face in Gaza, for example, in specific now, in terms of nudity, like nude search and naked search, body search,
mm,
being killed, targeted. Women are being killed. Moms with their children being targeted in streets and sniped by snipers directly where they're while they're not even like forming any kind of threat to the to anyone, not to soldiers, but to anyone.
mm,
Mothers who would take care of the children have been have lost their lives. Many children are without moms now. Um, according to the UN researchers and UN reports, more than 63 women are killed in Gaza per day. So I think that through media you can tell that women in specific are having such hard time surviving, even special, like very basic minimum needs, as in having the like the women's cycle and the monthly
mm,
cycle needs, as in pads and like the hygiene, necessary hygiene, is also a problem now for Gaza, for
mm,
women in Gaza and girls. So I keep
mm,
thinking actually of the girls who have their first periods. How is
mm,
their feeling now, not having the special and minimum needs that a girl would need for her to save a memory, like very basic.
mm,
But yeah, we can tell that it hasn't been easy, and yeah, it is not.
mm. And you paint a very bleak picture about what women are going through, but from a distance, and from what us you know in South Africa we're observing, and I can maybe link it back to when South Africa was going through its dark days of apartheid. It was women who were in the forefront. It was women who were keeping the family structures together. It was our mothers and grandmothers who were essentially in the forefront of the fight against apartheid. And I'm seeing the very same pattern in in Palestine, where despite all those things that you mentioned, women are still in the forefront. Someone would expect, in that part of the world, that the woman would be a bit timid, be in their scarves, but you see them fighting. You see them shouting at the Israeli occupying forces. You see them in the media as journalists, in the front lines, trying to tell those stories and saying, we're not just going to be in our abayas and our scarves. We're going to do that because our religion requires of it, but we're not going to let that hold us back as the rest of the world thinks. Where does that come from? Where does that power and resilience come from in such a very, very difficult place and circumstances?
Well, I will just answer from my point of view as a Palestinian woman and a Palestinian
Mm,
who has been born and raised in Palestine and under colonization and occupation system. I think that people who are under colonization mostly and under so much pressure and under so much oppression, they get to be living under survival mode. So basically, they try to develop techniques in their own sphere and their own skills and qualifications that have acquired through this experience of being under oppression, in order how to survive, because it's a
mm,
human nature to survive. And if you go also to the mother and woman instinct of saving families, of saving children, of protecting their children and keeping them safe. If you talk to a cat, she would fight for death to protect her children. And like,
mm,
imagine, it's a mother, it's a human mother that would also protect and go to death just to protect her children and to keep her house one and standing. So I would just say it's a human instinct. It's a mother instinct. It's a woman instinct of protection and keeping everything together. Also, as I said, it's the survival mode of techniques that they want to survive. We want to survive. We want to live, because it's also a human need just to live, to have a life, to have a good life for our children, for ourselves, for our husbands, for our mothers, fathers, brothers, for ourselves, for our houses. It's a basic human need. But I would like to emphasize on the fact that they do, like women in Palestine, they do keep themselves in the front because they are the motive for
mm,
the families to keep going on, for the husbands, for the brothers, for the mothers, for the whole family to keep pushing for a better life, because women are the center of like the emotional center of a life, that keeps everything together. So I would say that for them pushing life forward is because they work from an instinct, and also because we have been raised upon morals of dignity,
mm,
upon respect, and upon the worth of living and the worth of life. And that's what makes us all women, because because not only women, I would actually say the Palestinian community and all people on earth that deserve dignity and respect and worth of life, they would refuse and reject being treated as less, and be dehumanized. So the Palestinian women have been dehumanized multiple times during centuries and throughout centuries and ages. So they have developed ways of fighting back and being resilient in the face of these dehumanizing techniques. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen me, for example, now,
Mm,
because
mm,
like you, we have faced as children and as women many dehumanizing practices against us. But if we chose to be passive, to not proact, to not to not protect ourselves, to protect our humanity inside, you wouldn't have seen me talking to you now and
mm,
like acting and being active. But I also would like to stress and allow me to stress on that Palestinian people and all people, like for example, people of Sudan now, the women of now. There are women of Syria, women of Iraq, women of all the oppressed people. They are not heroes. They do. They resist. They're resilient. They try to do their best, but they're not heroes. They're human at the end of the day. They have needs. They have emotions. They fear. They fear for their lives. They want food. Our people are being starved. You know that mothers, 4 to 5 mothers, according to UN reports, they skip meals so they can make sure that their children actually have some meal to eat. So they are women and they are humans at the end. All of them are humans. I refuse to call them as heroes because they try to. This is a way of dehumanizing them, but they are humans that do need action, advocacy, and they need for this to stop. And they need a
mm.
better life because they are humans and there are women who have needs that they want and need in order to continue living as balanced humans, you know?
Mm. I wanted to ask you that, but I think you touched on it. But if you can elaborate, why did you feel? Why do you feel the need to separate, the word hero from women when they're doing, really heroic things? Why do you feel like it's important to outline the fact that they are still women, they're still human beings, and why does the term hero being attached to them have a connotation that is seemingly unpalatable to you?
Okay, throughout history, if you can read through books of um, colonial systems and what does it actually bring to the people who are under colonization and who are being colonized and occupied, they try to use multiple techniques, and there are other techniques that are being developed by through the process of colonization. So one of the steps that are being that the colonization and the colonial systems use are related to dehumanizing them by not showing them worth of life, to they make them as easy targets, show them low standards of living, treat them as less humans. As you can see, for example, through the media, how they address Palestinians. And I
Mm,
refuse to use these words, but the words that they use to address Palestinians, these are all ways to show the colonized people. And I will stress on using the term colonized and occupied people as not only Palestinians, because there are some other people who are going through the same experience as just like us. So, and we all unify with this, with the suffering, and we all need to work together to get active and to end this for all of us, because we all deserve better life, because we decide our worth. Not anyone else decides our worth of lives.
mm,
So they use techniques and they develop techniques to dehumanize the colonized peoples and Palestinians in this case. However, there are other techniques that get developed by the process of colonization. So it's difficult for the people to free themselves. It's difficult, and we have to admit that it's a difficult process, not an easy process, and it's difficult and also a challenging case for the neighboring countries and for the international community to free those who are oppressed, because also either they have interests, they have plans, it's difficult for them, they're weaker, whatever.
mm,
So the other techniques are being developed by like making the oppressed as hero. So when I make the oppressed as a
Mm,
hero, it makes it less burden on those who are responsible to fight for the freedom of the others and the brothers and sisters of other countries. It makes it less burden and makes us feel a relief that, oh, these people are heroes. They can bear it. They can take it. They can carry the burden of the
mm,
humanity, which is not true, because they are, at the end of the day, they're humans. That's a way of dehumanizing the oppressed people, and Palestinians in this case in specific, by making them heroes, that they can carry all this misery. They can take it. They can handle this burden and this misery because they're heroes. And they, giving them the characteristics of heroes is dehumanizing themselves, because by that you're not treating them as humans, and you're giving them responsibility to bear, to carry, and to to take in more than what they have been created to carry. Like, as
mm,
humans, they have a limit of an extent of of taking in struggles and and misery and suffering and pain. And calling them heroes is actually treating them and give and like making them responsible to take more, which it's
mm.
not possible. And that will not make you take action. That will make you feel relieved by
Mm.
calling them.
You
And
you're going to feel like they don't need the help that they deserve. They don't
yeah,
need intervention because there's a tag on them. They're strong. They're heroes.
yeah,
They can take all these
yeah.
bombs. They can take.
It's a
I
dehumanizing
understand.
process.
I understand. I think you know, another question that I have for you is how do you see the role of the women of Palestine changing? I mean, it's been what, it's almost 75 years since the occupation. You grew up under it. How have you seen the role of women consistently change, and how is it going to look in the future? Looking at the current circumstances that they find themselves in, and how the occupation doesn't seem to be slowing down, although there's advocacy, and those around the world that are for the Palestinian cause are trying as hard as they can to make sure that the people of Palestine do get their freedom in our lifetime. How do you see the role of women changing in all of this, in all of the changing of times and what the times require of them?
um I would actually would like to highlight that the role of women is getting back to light, because before occupation, and before the colonization, before the British mandate on Palestine, women used to have a huge important role in building the society, the community of the Palestinians. That's first, because it's also important, because keeping a community together is a one way of resilience. And another thing is, through the British mandate and through the beginnings of the occupation, the Israeli occupation, the Palestinians, women had a very proactive leading role in resistance, because they used to first, like first it was by keeping their houses together, their families together, because saving a house means saving a community. And the other things is by actually working with the resisting groups, where after that women were targeted by multiple ways, either by actually attacking their vulnerability as women, where
Mm,
yes, and also either by attacking their vulnerability, or denying them their basic rights of education, of self respect, of like access to many other access to basic human needs as for women. But then after that, women lived in a phase of just survival mode,
mm,
just to save themselves, and to try to figure out what is the phase that we're living in. But now, like from like years to this day, women are going back to take the lead. in
mm,
in in, in how they present Palestine from in their own ways. You can see Sheikh Jarrah as an example of a model of a woman taking lead in Jerusalem and taking a lead to protect her house. You can see women that are being more active in writing reports, writing research papers, going to interviews, talking with a Palestinian voice. You can see social media, how it was used for women to raise their voice, to talk about their experience. You can see educators for Palestinians going and roaming the world and having trips in universities, academic trips, and you can see women as artists, bringing back the role model of a Palestinian resilient person
mm,
and human. You can see, for example, like the woman in Gaza, like the doctor who saved the guy, who was shot and sniped by a sniper, Israeli sniper. She she just put her life in danger just to save a man because she's a doctor and she felt the responsibility to save her own people. So I think
mm,
that women are they're taking the lead back. They're just now trying to frame their work out. However, they are under a severe attack as women by a severe detentions, attacks. The women who are pregnant are being attacked. There are reports of 2 women being raped inside Israeli occupation jails. They are attacked, but they are now they're still keep taking the lead and getting back to the image and getting out from the shock and the trauma
mm.
and being proactive again. They're now taking their steer.
Mm, mm.
Yes.
I think, if there's one thing that I despise really is how in most times, but because maybe the times require of it, we don't see Palestinian women like any other women in the world. If I can ask you this question, outside of, although it's important to talk about, outside of, the struggles and, the genocide that's currently going on, and, Palestinian people being under constant oppression, what makes Palestinian women unique? Outside of everything that's going on, just as the women of Palestine, as human beings, what makes them unique as the women of Palestine?
Um, well, well, that's a very good question. Maybe I haven't thought about before, because
Mm,
I've never thought about how unique are we or how special are we. I feel like we're part of humans in the world, and we're part of humanity, and we're just like everyone else. But maybe that's a good question because it's also important to admire ourselves as women
yes, yes,
because we
that's where I was going with the question. Yes.
it's a good question because mostly we're under target, so it's
Mm,
sometimes difficult for us to think of how unique are we. These are very privileged questions for people who are under colonization to think of how unique they are, how special they are.
mm,
But I think it's a very important question. But um, I will just answer from my point of view as a Palestinian
please.
woman. Um, I feel like Palestinian women, they're very s- um, solutions directed. So most of the times they they surf and dive and try to find solutions instead of problems. And I don't mean by that like they don't create problems. They do, but I mean, but I mean also by that they try to find solutions to keep going on. They don't give up. They feel tired, but they take a rest, but then they get up again and they try to find solutions because that's the only option that we have. There are they are creative. I know many creative women in my life. I know women who have been subjected to violence, subjected to oppression, yet they chose, and they always keep choosing to be creative in their own atmosphere of life. Um, they are beautiful and they take care of themselves. They try to show themselves all the time in the best shape ever, not for everyone but for themselves. They try to take care of themselves because they know that they come first. when it
Mm,
comes to continue living for all elements of their life, for their kids, for their families, mothers, fathers, husbands, whoever involved in their lives. They know that they are the core of living. We know that they are the core, and that doesn't mean that men are not the core. They are, but I mean they. I mean sometimes women forget to look at themselves and how they're special, but they are. They're well educated. I know many, many, and many well-educated women in Palestine. You know, there is zero literacy in Palestine. So
mm,
women take care of their take good care of their education, and they refuse to be dehumanized. They refuse to be disrespected, and you can see that everywhere. They refuse it. They just reject it. They reject disrespect in all cases, and that's why they always are in clash with Israeli soldiers at checkpoints, just like who I
mm,
am now, because they try to dehumanize and disrespect women, but they're always reject that and backlash it because it's not an accepted a manner of talk. They are brave. They stand up for themselves and for people around them. They are good emotional supporters, and they have like they are a good community. Like women in
mm,
Palestine do have good communities together as support, and yeah, they're smart. I know that they're smart. I'm talking from
mm.
my point of view, so it might not be as
No,
yeah,
no, no. You're painting a very, very beautiful
they are,
picture.
but they are,
Yeah,
yes, they
yeah.
are.
But I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. You gave us
Thank
insight
you.
on what it means, to be a woman in occupied
Thank you.
Palestine. And I think this is a an interview that's going to go far and beyond, because the focus is usually on other things. And as you mentioned, painting Palestinian women as heroes when they're just human beings. And they're
Yeah,
just like everyone else, and they need the time and attention, and they also have needs, that they want to. It's not about being selfish, even. It's just internal human needs that everyone
yeah.
deserves. So I think we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, and happy International Women's Day to you, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate you giving
And
us your time.
to people of South Africa as well. I also would like to insist that we have to work hard for ceasefire now.
Mm,
We need to elevate our advocacy for a ceasefire now. Palestinians and all oppressed people on earth are not numbers,
mm.
and we refuse to be targeted. Thank you very much. Happy International Women's Day for everyone, and I urge the international community to take action and
All
not
right.
just name days.
All right, there we have it. Thank you so much there to
Thank
Malak
you very much.
Shweiki, coming to us live from Jerusalem. They're painting a picture for us about what it feels like and what it is like to be a woman in occupied Palestine. I really, really appreciate her insights. We're going to leave it here. From me, Salai Till we meet again. It's goodbye.